Hello, welcome to my August TBR, and this TBR kind of terrifies me. I feel like I'm being a little bit ridiculous, and the last time I was this ridiculous was probably April. Now, April I was ridiculous enough to give you like 20 odd books because I was trying to complete 30 books in 30 days for April. Now for August, I have a similar reading challenge, not quite the same, but similar, in that I am trying to make August my best page count so far this year, which is scary considering April was my best page count and I read 30 books. So in the month of April, I read 7,558 pages, which is my best page count of the year by a long shot. So I need to be aiming for closer to 8,000 pages in August. Now, this page count challenge is something that I'm embarking on with my patrons, as I fairly frequently do these days. Each month we tend to have a bit of a reading challenge that we aim for. In July, I was only reading dragon books, and I loved doing that challenge. The month before, we had something else, I can't remember what we did, but we've done the 30 books in 30 days, we did a buzzword bingo sort of thing, we've done the July of Dragons, and now we are doing the beat your page count sort of challenge for August. I'm excited, but scared. I love the community aspect of doing the challenge like together, like the Discord becomes very active, plenty of reading sprints and so on. But if you aren't part of my Patreon and you want to embark on the challenge yourself as well, then I also challenge you. Make August your best page count month ever. See if you can do it. I would be curious to know what your best page count so far this year is. If you're the sort of person that tracks it, please let me know. I just want to see what sort of wild figures people have got out there. Mine is 7,558, so I need to beat that in August. In order for me to do that, I've got some big books that I would like to get through. I think this is kind of silly, but we'll see what happens. So let's crack on with my August TBR. Firstly, and not stupidly, I have A Gathering of Shadows by Victoria Schwab. This is my Patreon buddy read book of the month for July. It didn't have any dragons though, so I couldn't read it in July, which means I need to make it my first read of August, and I need to read it quickly so that we can have the live show for this one, because it was supposed to be the July book, so I'm just going to need to read it first and very quickly to make the live show for this. But this is book 2 in the Shades of Magic series by Victoria Schwab. This will be a reread for me. This will be my 4th time reading this book, I think. I believe this is my favourite of the trilogy. And if you aren't familiar with the Shades of Magic trilogy, it follows a magician called Kel, who is an Antari, and an Antari is someone who can travel between alternative worlds and alternate Londons. So we have Red London, Grey London, White London, and Black London, and each of these versions of London have different levels of magic. And Kel should not take things with him between these Londons, but of course he does, which propels the entire plot. This is book 2. There is a magical competition in this, a bit of trial vibes, a contest, and my favourite character, Delilah Bard, does some pretty badass stuff in this one, and I'm excited to reread it. I'm going to audiobook this. I've never audiobooked this series before, so this is my first time listening to them. Didn't love the narrator when I was listening to the first book, but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to dive back into this world. Next up is the one that I'm probably the most scared of doing and most intimidated by, because it is huge. This book is 1,123 pages. And this is Shogun by James Clavell. I don't even know much about this. I know that this has recently been turned into a TV show, I think. Epic saga, following the story of John Blackthorne, who is shipwrecked on Japan, the most alien of shores. The novel follows his rise from the status of reviled foreigner to the heights of trusted advisor and eventually a samurai. Civil war looms over the fragile country. Political history? Is this, I feel like I should know, is this like based on a true story? Is John Blackthorne a real person? 16th century medieval Japan. I have no idea, but medieval Japan. I'm going to be buddy reading this with Gavin. We are both going to be tackling this tome together. Hopefully we have a good time, and hopefully doing this together will help us actually get through it together, because it's chonky. Speaking of chonky, let's just move on to some more big books, and I would like to tackle The Providence of Fire by Brian Staveley. This is book 2 in the first book is The Emperor's Blades, Chronicle of the Unhewn Throne trilogy. The first one is The Emperor's Blades, which I read in June. I very much enjoyed that book. It sucked me in straight away. Political fantasy following the 3 children of an emperor who has been murdered, and how that murder impacts each of his 3 children. The one who is closest to the throne, the one who is next in line for the throne, and one who is trained to be a warrior. What that means for each of them, and the empire in turmoil. Very buzzwordy for me, was that. I thoroughly enjoyed book 1, and I'm very excited to continue this series. I have heard that book 2 is just as good, so fingers crossed, I think so, but it is another chonky one, but one I am very, very excited to get to. Let's just keep the chonky books coming. There's a few of them. The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty. This is on my priority list for this year. It was on my priority list for last year. I have mentioned this in previous TBRs and still not got to it. So I am determined that August will be the month that I will read The Grace of Kings. It's another chonky one. It's not as big as some of the later books in the series. You can just about see them up there, because they are even bigger. But I really need to get to this one. I've heard fantastic things about this series. Do I know an awful lot about it? Absolutely not. I'm pretty sure the Emperor... Does the Emperor die and is the Empire in turmoil? The Emperor is on his deathbed. The gods are restless. Of course, the Emperor dies. And the Empire is in turmoil. Again, buzzwordy for me, but I've heard fantastic things about it. I'm going to go into it with just that very base knowledge and hope for the best. As always, when I mention this book, I have to mention that this is one of the gorgeous broken binding editions, because it's stunning. I'm excited for this. I don't really know fully what to expect, because I don't know an awful lot about it, but it's one of those ones that I'm like so sure I'm gonna love that I keep procrastinating reading it and putting it off, even though I know I'm probably gonna absolutely love it. Why do we do that? Next up, I feel like this one is kind of a curveball, but I asked my patrons before I filmed this, I asked if they had any particular books that they wanted to push upon me. Overwhelmingly, this book was mentioned a lot, and that is The Final Strife by Sarah El-Arifi. I have read Feybound by Sarah El-Arifi, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. Had a pleasant time. This is a very different vibe. I think this is YA, maybe, but more on the political war side, whereas Feybound lent a bit more into the, like, romance side. I think this is more on the, like, war, politics, brutality sort of side, so I will probably enjoy this one a little bit more. I have heard fantastic things about it from a good number of people, actually, over a pretty long period of time. Like, I know a few of my friends have read and very much enjoyed this, and then my patrons have kind of swarmed at the opportunity to ask me to read it, so that is what I will do. I don't know anything about it. The Empire rules by blood. Red is the blood of the elite of magic of control. They are the embers. Blue is the blood of the poor, of workers, of the resistance. They are the dusters. Clear is the blood of the servants, of the crushed or the invisible. They are the ghostings. Is that rule about to come to an end? Will she rule the Empire or destroy it? I have a prediction that she has a different colour blood that means something else. Simply based on that. We will see. But I do actually, now I've read that, remember hearing someone talk about it and explaining that, so I should have remembered that. But yeah, I've heard fantastic things about it. We will see what I make of it. It's on the list. Next up we have another kind of curveball one, but it is The Physics of Climate Change, which is a little non-fiction book that I desperately want to read. I picked this one up for my birthday and have been thinking about it since. I'm just really intrigued. Normally when I read non-fiction I lean towards astrophysics, space. So we're still in the physics sort of realm, but climate change, because that is something else that I am passionate about, like with Polathon and raising money for Polar Bears International to help the Arctic and climate change, etc. So kind of smushing those two things together, I feel like this is going to be a good opportunity for me to learn more and just generally explore my fascination with the subject. And it's only teeny tiny. I do have some other non-fictions that I would also like to get to, more in the physics realm, but I'm just going to put this one on the TBR and then we'll see if I read any others. But currently, this one is just taken up an awful lot of my brain space. The Physics of Climate Change provides a clear, accurate and accessible perspective on climate science and the risk of global inaction. Krauss's narrative explores the history of how scientists progressed to our current understanding of the Earth's climate and its future. Its generous complement of informative diagrams and illustrations allows readers to assess which climate predictions are securely based on analysis of empirical data and which are more speculative. Required reading for anyone that's interested in understanding humanity's role in the future of our planet. I feel like I fit in that category. I'm excited. Next up is another one that I think I have mentioned on a TBR previously, but it is Son of Blood and Ruin by Marilee Lars. This is on my self-destruct TBR, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this is some sort of masked vigilante hero stroke princess sort of situation. No one knows that the princess is this hero, no one knows that this hero is the princess, and she needs to fool them all, and there's magic of her ancestors, and so on. Don't know the ins and out of it, but I would like to try and get to it. It's on the self-destruct TBR, so one I should probably try and get to, and I remember when I made that video that this one kind of sparked my interest again, so it would be good to actually get to it and not let that interest dwindle again. And next up, throwing a sci-fi in the mix, I have got Dead Astronauts by Jeff Vandermeer. This is one I've been meaning to get to for a little while. This is, I think, the sequel to Born. So we've got Born, and then after Born is Strange Bird, and then we have Dead Astronauts. So in Born, a trio of dead astronauts are mentioned, kind of in passing. I feel like this might be those dead astronauts, but the world of Born is kind of this apocalyptic future world where the company has kind of taken over a lot of the land. There's a lot of like weird creatures that have come out of the earth being wrecked by toxins. Like sea creatures forming from like toxic sludge sorts of situations. I don't really know how to explain what Born is. It's kind of a bit speculative. Humans remain, but they kind of have to scavenge for bits for survival. The world is very much a bizarre place. That's a terrible explanation. But kind of like speculative sci-fi thriller vibe, set on Earth, futuristic, with the company kind of keeping an eye on everything that happens. What is natural? What is not natural? Up for debate. And then we have astronauts. In a city with no name of its own, in the shadow of the all-powerful company, lives human and otherwise, converging in terrifying and miraculous ways. Under the watchful eye of the company, 3 rebels make their way through forces that would consume them. At stake, the fate of Earth. All the Earths. Maybe they're not actual astronauts. I don't know. I really don't know what to expect from this. As always with Jeff Vandermeer, I have read the Southern Reach trilogy from Vandermeer. Love that trilogy very much. Obviously I've read Born and I've read Strange Bird, have enjoyed those. Have also read Hummingbird Salamander, didn't like that one quite so much. But Jeff Vandermeer generally goes pretty well for me. I like that speculative sci-fi thriller vibe, which is weird because thriller and horror, which we kind of lean into a little bit, isn't really my thing, but something about the way Vandermeer does it just works for me. And I've been meaning to read this, so I should probably get to it. And then at this point, just for a giggle, another chonker that I should really get to is Legacy of Light. I am 35% into this because I'm reading this on my Kindle, and have been for a while, and keep putting it off, and I don't know why, because I'm loving it. I loved the first 2 books in the series. When I was reading this, I was really into it again, and I think it's another one of those situations where it's something that I'm so excited to consume, and I'm so sure I'm gonna love all of it, that I'm procrastinating and putting it off. And I don't know why, and I need to just get on with it, and the pages would really help with that page count goal, so I'm gonna put it on there. And that stack of books is ridiculous. Now, I haven't mentioned any manga. I would really like to get to some manga. I don't know what, though. I think I'll probably just mood read some manga in between my other books to try and get that page count up a little bit. Because I think even with this ridiculous stack, I don't think I'm even close to 8,000 pages. And this is the ridiculous stack in question. That's just silly. Who do I think I am? I am going to calculate how many pages that TBR is off camera, and editing me will put it here. I don't think it's even going to be close to that 8,000, so I think I'm going to need more on top of that. I'm not going to hold myself to that TBR. I'm going to give myself the freedom of truly mood reading just so that I have that little bit more motivation to get to that page goal. Because I think I am going to need that excitement of mood reading to kind of keep that motivation truly up and help me get to that 8,000 pages. But that's the vibe. That's the mood I'm in at the minute. We'll see how much I stick to that and how much it changes. But there we have it. There is my August TBR. My goal for August is 8,000 pages. We'll see if I can make it. As I said at the beginning, I would love to know what your highest page count in a month has been so far this year. Please do let me know. I want to see those wild numbers. And if you fancy joining in the challenge, see if you can beat it in August as well. Could be fun. Could be not fun, but could be fun. Alright, I am going to wrap this up here. It is ridiculously hot. I am melting and desperately need a drink. I've had to stop to cough so many times, I don't know what's come over me. We'll see if I manage any of those books. Best of luck with your August reading. I'm gonna need all the luck with mine, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!